The field hospital massacre. The twin moons of Harrel 9 hung low in the sky, casting soft blue light over the valley. It was supposed to be a neutral zone, a safe place. Even in war, some rules were sacred. No weapons, no soldiers, only medics, patience, and peace. Inside the human field hospital, soft beeps filled the air. Medical drones floated from bed to bed. Humans and aliens lay side by side, wounded but alive. A young human medic, Dr. Lena Maris, smiled as she cleaned the blood off a small reptilian child's forehead. "You're strong," she whispered. "Just a few more days, and you'll be running again." The child blinked its golden eyes and tried to smile back. All around, human medics worked quietly. They had no weapons, no armor. It's just white coats with the Red Cross of Earth on their sleeves. Their job was not to fight, but to heal. That's why no one saw it coming. It started with a sound deep low, like thunder. The walls of the field hospital shook. Lights flickered. "What was that?" Lena asked, looking up. One of the nurses ran in. His face was pale. "Dropships. Not ours." Before anyone could move, the sky outside turned red. Fire fell like rain. Explosions rocked the valley. The sound of screaming echoed from outside. Lena rushed to the window. Soldiers in black armor were landing, hundreds of them. Not human. Not friendly. Their faces were hidden behind metal masks. They moved fast, shooting anything that moved. "But this is a neutral zone," someone shouted. No one listened. The enemy didn't care. Within seconds, the outer tents caught fire. Patients crawled out, only to be gunned down. One nurse raised her hand, screaming for peace. She was shot in the head. Lena grabbed the reptilian child and ran. She didn't get far. A soldier kicked the door in, weapon raised. Lena froze. "I'm a medic," she screamed. "We're unarmed." The soldier paused. Then, without a word, he fired. The bullet missed her by inches. It hit the child instead. The world slowed down. Lena stared at the child's lifeless body in her arms. Then she screamed a sound so raw, shook even the walls. The soldier pulled her by the hair, dragging her into the hallway. Everywhere, there was chaos. Fire, blood, screams. Human medics were rounded up, beaten, tied. Some were forced to watch as their patients were executed. Others were tortured. The attackers were careful. They avoided killing the medics too quickly. Cameras recorded everything. One soldier even laughed as he held up a severed hand and said, "Is this how you heal?" They wanted Earth to see, to feel helpless. By the end of the hour, the field hospital was gone. It's burned, broken, silent. All 217 medics were dead. Only one camera. Its drone survived, hidden in a broken light fixture. It captured everything. The footage was sent back to Earth, and Earth watched. It was shown on every screen, every channel. People wept. Then they stopped, and they grew silent. Across Earth, the silence spread like a storm. In war, medics were sacred. Protected by every treaty, every code. Even the worst enemies respected that. But not this time. This time. The enemy touched Earth's medics. That was the last mistake they would ever make. 5 days later, Earth Council, Geneva Domna Council Chamber was full. Ambassadors, generals, President Saul, watching the footage again. No one spoke.
What?
Even the machines at the front stood Commander Rourke, tall, cold eyes. A legend in Earth's darkest wars. He didn't need to say much. They broke the rule, he said. So now we break them. An old man in a suit stood. "You're talking about Project Vault?" "Yes," Rourke answered. "That was shut down. For a reason, these people, they're monsters." Rourke nodded. "Good." Meanwhile, Mars' Black Vault, deep beneath the surface of Mars, locked under layers of steel and silence, were doors that hadn't opened in 200 years. Behind those doors lived the ones Earth never spoke about. The forgotten, the caged, the monsters. They had names once. Now they had numbers. Repernine, Ghost Unit, Hollow. Echo, not soldiers, not killers. Something worse. Each one was locked in cryosleep. each one too dangerous for war, too wild for peace. Now, the lights flickered, the locks opened, and one by one, the monsters woke up. Somewhere in deep space, alien broadcast tower. Alien reporter, shaking with fear, read the latest message from Earth. To all who hear this, you touched our medics. Now Earth will touch everything you love. Run, hide. Pray it won't help. The galaxy froze. The monsters had been released. And this time, they were not coming to fight. They were coming to make sure no one ever forgot what happens when you touch Earth's healers. You meet the ones Earth locked away for your own safety. Now they're free. 2 weeks after the field hospital massacre location, Mars Black Zone 7, deep containment facility, it was midnight on Mars. Though time didn't matter underground, far beneath the red sand, inside a secret facility hidden from even Earth's allies, alarms began to sound. BZZZT alert, level 0, unlocked. Project Vault access granted. Red lights blinked across the halls. Cold gas hissed from thick steel vents. The air smelled like ice and old metal. Inside a sealed control room, 4 black-suited guards stared at the monitors. Each one showed a massive locked door, frozen shut for over 200 years. Then, Karani Nunk, the first door moved. The guards looked at each other. One whispered, "They're really doing it, ... They're really waking them up." None of them spoke again. Level 0 cryo chamber, arrows of dark glass pods lined the chamber. Inside each one, a human floated in icy sleep, their bodies scarred, their eyes closed. One pod blinked green, the name etched into its side, Reaper-9. His eyes opened. They were gray, cold, empty, the chamber filled with steam as the pod opened. Reaper-9 stepped out, naked, calm, and quiet. He stretched like someone waking from a nap, not a 200-year sentence. A robotic voice echoed, "Welcome back. Do you accept the mission?" Reaper-9 said nothing. Then he smiled. Level 0 cryo chamber, be another pod unlocked. This one had a warning written in red, "Do not open unless in full planetary war." But Earth didn't care anymore. The figure inside was a woman, short, barefoot. She had no visible weapons. No armor, her code name, Echo. She opened her eyes and whispered something to herself. The glass cracked just from her voice. Level 0 isolation wing Conley 1 pod was kept alone, far from the others. Buried in lead and steel, the guards called him Hollow. His pod didn't open automatically. It took 10 minutes, 3 codes, and a blood scan. When the final lock clicked, the lights died. Darkness filled the room. Something stepped out. No one saw what it looked like. The cameras shut. Off, the guards stopped talking. Hollow was awake. Command. Center Mars Vault Control Commander Rourke stood with his arms crossed. Behind him, live feeds showed each monster waking up. A nervous officer asked, "Sir, are we sure this is the right move?" Rourke didn't turn around. "They killed our medics," he said. "We showed them mercy for 100 years. Took it as weakness. They'll learn what happens when Earth stops holding back." The officer swallowed hard. "It's the target?" Rourke stared at the screen. "Everything," he said. Elsewhere, galactic outer ring, a pirate ship picked up strange transmissions from Mars. One of the alien crew laughed. "Humans always talk big. What can they really do?" Their signal cut out. 2 hours later, their ship was found, empty, burned from the inside. A message carved into the metal hull. "You watched." They laughed. "You're next." Meanwhile, Earth underground briefing room, the monsters were gathered in a single room for the first time. They didn't speak to each other. They didn't need to. Each of them knew the mission. Revenge. Not just on the species who killed the medics, but on every leader. Every weapon supplier. Every silent ally who watched and did nothing. This wasn't a military strike. It was a message. The time for peace was over. The galaxy would now meet the humans it was never supposed to meet. Reaper-9s. First words in 200 years, "They made us to scare nightmares." Let's remind them why they locked us away. Back on Harrow 9, the ruins of the field hospital, the smoke still rose from the destroyed field hospital. Bodies were still being collected. Earth had sent a cleanup crew. No cameras, no interviews, just silence. In the middle of the ruins, a white cross was raised. The names of all 217 medics were carved in glowing letters. No news. Channels reported it. But every human soldier saw it in their feed, and every one of them whispered the same thing. For them, we become monsters. 3 days later, Operation T. Echo Flame begins. The monsters didn't launch a normal attack. They didn't use fleets, no big ships, no flashy weapons. They used fear. The first target was a command ship belonging to the same species, who attacked the medics. It was found drifting in space, not destroyed empty. Every crew member gone. No signs of struggle. Just one thing left behind. A single medic's ID badge. It's floating in the control room. Echo's strike on Velkar 3. Velkar 3 was a rich city planet, untouched by war. The leaders there had given weapons to the attackers. Quietly, secretly, they thought they were. Safe. Echo landed alone. In one night, every power station exploded. Every weapon melted. The planet was cut off. No one died, until the screaming started. Echo didn't kill fast. She hunted. She whispered to their minds. Some jumped from buildings. Others tore at their own skin. Echo never touched them. She didn't have to. By morning, the planet begged for mercy. Earth didn't reply. The galaxy reacts. News spread fast. The monsters had returned. Old stories, once hidden, surfaced again. The tales of Ghost Unit 9, who once erased an entire fleet without a single shot, of Hollow, who walked through fire and left madness behind, of Echo, who spoke and made armies bleed from their ears, of Reaperning, who didn't stop until everything was silent. These weren't soldiers. These were warnings. Made flesh back on Earth, the people watched silently. Earth's citizens didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They just watched. Their medics were dead now. The galaxy would understand one simple rule. If you touch our healers, you unleash our nightmares. Outer orbit. Zelthor, high command vessel, pride of Dominion. The Zelthor fleet orbited above their capital world, proud and calm. Admiral Vorik stood tall on the bridge. Behind him, giant windows showed space full of battleships, hundreds of them, ships that once crushed weak colonies with ease. He smiled. Earth is emotional. They cry for dead medics. That's all. They are sentimental monkeys. His officers laughed. An aide stepped forward. Sir, their ambassador sent another warning. Vorex waved it away. Let them bark. They stared into the stars. They won't bite. That night, 2 o'clock Galactic Standard Time, something tore through the blackness of space. Not a ship, not a fleet, just a shadow. Silent, invisible, deadly. The first. The Selther ship, Justice Hammer, went dark. No explosion. No distress call. Just gone. Then the second. Then the third. In under 10 minutes, 10 ships vanished from sensors. Panic spread across the bridge. Admiral! An officer shouted. We've lost contact with half the fleet. Oryx's smile faded. Activate drones. Scan every direction. But the drones never launched. The drone bay was already destroyed. From the inside, someone had gotten aboard. Inside the pride of Dominion. Cargo by a small door opened. One man stepped through. No armor, no gun, just a black coat and glowing eyes. Reaper-9. He walked calmly. Zelther guards fired at him. The bullets melted before touching him. Then they started, screaming. Not from wounds, from something deeper. Their minds cracked. They saw things that weren't real: fire, death, memories that didn't belong to them. Within seconds, they turned their weapons on each other. Repernin stepped over their bodies and kept walking. Bridge. Minutes later, Admiral, something is here, shouted the captain. Our weapons are offline. Shields are falling, then silence. The bridge door opened with a slow hiss. Vorex turned. Holding a plasma blade, He tried to speak, but Repernin was already in front of him. "You killed doctors," Repernin said softly. "We were at war," Oryx shouted. Repernin didn't argue. He held up a small item, a bloodied field. "Medic badge. Then you'll see what war really is." No one saw what happened next. The ship exploded from the inside out. 3 hours later, Zelthar capital planet T-1000. Pieces of wreckage rained down from the sky. Citizens looked up in horror. The once proud pride of Dominion burned. In the atmosphere falling with it was a black flag, the red cross carved into it. New symbol. Earth's warning they had struck. And they were just getting started. Galactic Council. Emergency meeting leaders from 100 species gathered. Some in person, some by hologram, the Zelthor ambassador screamed. Earth used dark weapons. Mind killers, illegal tech. This is genocide. Earth's ambassador, a calm woman named Alia Chen, didn't raise her voice. She placed a hologram on the table. It showed a human, dead, tied to a wall, screaming, burned alive. Recorded by Zelthor soldiers, Alia looked around the room. "We begged for peace. We followed your rules. Sent doctors to help everyone even you're wounded." She paused. "And you killed them. Now, we follow our own rules." The room fell. Silent. Elsewhere, Echo's second strike Keiko arrived on the merchant moon of Zorbu 6. No military presence. But the leaders there had funded the Zelthor assault. Echo didn't attack from the sky. She simply appeared. First, the air went still. Then, the mirrors cracked. People began to hear whispers in their ears. Whispers in their own voice. Entire buildings turned against themselves. Doors locking. Lights blinding. Floors collapsing. By morning, no leaders remained. Just a single message. Playing on loop, this is what silence buys. When you fund murderers, you sign your own death. Back on Mars, Vault Command Commander Rourke watched the reports flow in. 12 confirmed enemy leaders dead. 5 planets in blackout 0. Human casualties. The monsters were doing exactly what they were made for, and the galaxy was starting to understand something terrible. Humanity never needed a big fleet. They just needed a reason, and now they had one. A civilian ship's encounter 18 hours later is small. Alien transport passed near a broken asteroid field. They saw a drifting ship human-made. Damaged, they approached, thinking it needed help. No answer came from Hales. Curious. They docked. Inside, they found only one thing. A wall painted in blood, spelling out 3 words. "We are coming." The crew turned and fled. Their ship broadcast the footage across the galaxy. Galactic. Fear spreads. Alien colonies, once proud and powerful, began turning off lights. Ships refused to enter human space. Even pirate fleets stayed. Away children in Alien. Worlds whispered bedtime stories about Reaper, Echo, and Hollow, not as heroes, but as monsters. And for once, they were right. Earth media, silent broadcast, back on Earth. No music played. No leader gave speeches. Only a black screen with white letters appeared. "We asked for peace. You gave us war. Now we answer. To those who remain silent, your time is ticking. To those who cheered, your stars will go dark. And to those who touched our medics, run. We are already behind you." Hidden Fortress, Deep Ocean Base, Planet Thernax 5. Admiral Jarvik was a clever man. He knew Earth would strike back. He knew the medics' massacre would bring fire. So, he vanished. He used stolen credits, erased his identity, and built a fortress. Underwater, 20 kilometers, low the sea, no signal could reach it, no ship could find it. He thought he was safe, until the lights flickered, until the walls began to breathe, and the screams started in the hallways. 1 hour. Earlier, outside the fortress, a small pod floated in the black water, silent and still, no heat signature. No engine. Inside the pod, Hollow sat cross-legged in the dark. No suit, no gear, just his pale skin and glowing eyes. He didn't need weapons. He was the weapon. Inside the fortress, security station guards sat at their consoles board. One yawned. Then the cameras on level 3 cut to static. Must be a glitch, he said. Then level 2. Then level 1. Then all cameras. Darkness filled every screen. Backup systems, the captain ordered. No response. Security report. Still. Nothing then. Scream echoed from the stairwell. They turned toward the door. Someone was breathing on the other side. The lights went out. Admiral. Jarvik's panic. Room Jarvik locked the door and checked the air seals. He pulled up the emergency OLO-feed. All systems offline. All life signs 0. Impossible, he whispered. This base has 300 soldiers. Then a file opened on its own. Footage of the field hospital, medics screaming, begging, burning. The camera zoomed in on his own face, laughing during the broadcast. Jarvik backed away. No, I didn't order that. Only he stopped. Someone else was in the room. He turned. There was Hollow, just standing, watching. Sharvi screamed. The walls closed in. Elsewhere, the orbital station over Zentra 3 General Slask had a routine. Wake. At 600. Drink bitter leaf tea. Check comes ignore. Guilt. But today something was wrong. His cup fell from his hand as he saw his soldiers. Kneeling, all of them. Weapons on the ground, hands behind their heads, and in front of them, one person walked slowly barefoot, leaving burning footprints. Echo.slas Cray ran. He locked himself in the core room computer. Activate station defense. Grid target all humans. Error, the AI said calmly. All humans on board are already dead. Minutes later, galactic broadcast, hack across the galaxy. Screens flickered. A shaky camera showed General Slask tied to a chair behind him. Stood Echo, silent. A robotic voice spoke. This man funded the hospital massacre. This man gave orders to kill healers. This man sent children to die. Now he answers to Earth. Slask screamed as shadows covered his face. Then silence. The screen went black. Mars. Vault Command Commander Rourke's briefing the screen. Showed 9 targets remaining. High-ranking. Enemy leaders who approved or supported the massacre. All were in hiding. All were being hunted. Rourke pointed to the list. No talks. No trials. No deals. We don't want apologies. We want fear.
Ow.
The room agreed. They touched our medics. Now, we show them what humanity hides when it plays nice. Planet Chorus. Luxury bunker of War Minister Harvel Horvel was proud of his bunker. 12-meter walls. Anti-aircraft turrets. 2 private armies, no one could break in, until someone walked through the wall. Literally, ghost. Unit 9 was back. Old files called them legends, myths, shadows. But now, they were real again. The guards never saw the bullets, no sounds, no movement, just bodies falling. One after another, Harvel ran into his vault. He shut 5 layers of doors. He activated. Self-destruct. Then he found a card on his desk. A medic's. His own face drawn in blood on the wall. Then it exploded. Galactic Council. In full panic, Counselor Jerian of the UVAX people stood up and screamed, Earth is out of control. They are killing leaders without trial. The human ambassador calmly replied, You watched our medics burn. Where was your trial for them? Silence. No one had an answer. Some left the meeting. The council was breaking. The council was breaking. And Earth hadn't even sent a fleet yet. Planet Olmarin. Secret hideout of high strategists. Pelcorporal Core lived in shadows. He funded the weapon that killed 40 human medics in one explosion. Now he lived under 3 mountains in a secret tunnel city. Thousands of guards. Surveillance drones. Nothing could enter, so Earth didn't send something. They sent someone, Reaper-9. He didn't sneak in. He walked in the front gate. By the time the first alarm rang, 500 soldiers were down. No weapons, just fear. People started running from their guns. By the time Pelcor got the emergency door closed, Reaper was already inside. Pelcor died looking into his own mind. A message spreads across the stars. 12 high-ranking enemies of Earth had once smiled as medics screamed. Now, only 4 remained. The message was clear. Earth does not forget. Earth does not forgive. Earth no longer plays nice. Meanwhile, children on a dying Muna, small, alien child sat alone. His mother had worked at a lab that supplied poison gas to the attackers. Now she was gone. The child stared at the stars. He didn't understand war. He only whispered one thing to himself. I hope they don't find me too. Even the innocent had begun to fear humanity. Location: Galactic Council headquarters. The core ring, the chamber, was quiet. 1,000 species, 1,000 voices, but not a sound. A massive screen at the center played the same message again and again. Admiral Jarvik confirmed. Dead. General Slask terminated. Minister Harvel vaporized. Strategist Pelcor erased. For faces. For names. For executions, each one tied to the attack on Earth's medics. The message ended with a single line. You let it happen. Now we make sure it never happens again. First 5 minutes hook. Earth's final warning. Earth's ambassador, Alia. Chen stood calmly in front of the council. She wore no armor. No weapons. Just a gray suit and the red cross of Earth on her shoulder. I am not here to negotiate, she said softly. A tall insectoid counselor stood. You are killing without trials. This violates the peace treaty signed 148 years ago. Alia didn't blink. You violated it first. She touched a button. A new video played. Hidden files. Secret transmissions. Meetings where council members approved the field hospital raid, laughed about it, ignored the cries. Some delegates gasped. Others looked away. You broke the rules, Alia said. Now Earth breaks the chains. The council erupted in chaos, screaming, arguing. Alia turned and walked out. 1 hour later, Earth transmission across the galaxy. Every ship, every station, every planet received the same message. The Treaty of Peace is no longer valid. Earth no longer recognizes the Galactic Council. We gave you medicine. You gave us corpses. From this moment on, if you raise your voice against Earth, we silence it. If you raise your hand, we break it. If you stay silent, you are next. You touched our medics. Now we touched your gods. Planet Velshar, home of the Speaker's race. The Speaker of the Council lived in a floating city made of crystal and light. Peaceful, beautiful, untouched by war for 500 years, until the clouds turned black. A storm appeared where no weather existed. Then the city fell. No bombs, no ships, just silence. Followed by screams. Later a floating hologram hovered over the ruins. A single word. Judgment. Back on Mars' vault briefing room, Commander Rourke looked at the last remaining targets. 3 names. 3 planets. Each one heavily guarded. That won't help, he said. We're done hiding monsters. Now we let them run. Pernanine, Hollow, and Echo stood at attention. Echo spoke first. What about the Council? Rourke stared at her. They had their chance. Now we let the stars burn. Meanwhile, on planet Dural, Listenator Kasker had once shaken hands with Earth's leaders. He smiled when medics were bombed. He helped write the false reports that blamed humans for their own deaths. Now he was protected by 12 warships, 3 planetary shields, and an elite guard force. And he was afraid. They'll come, he whispered. He looked at every camera, every corner. He didn't eat, didn't sleep. He just waited. One day, his guards turned their weapons on each other. His ships exploded in orbit, and Hollow stepped from the shadows. No words, just silence. Kasker was never seen again. Alien news broadcast. The stars, news anchors, spoke in hushed voices. Earth has withdrawn from the Galactic Council. They no longer answer to treaties or laws. Every attack Earth has made has been without warning and without mercy. One alien whispered on live broadcast. They are not soldiers anymore. They are judgment made flesh. Underground. Resistance, formed some species began forming secret groups, not to attack Earth, but to survive. Plans were drawn to hide entire colonies. Ships were built to escape the galaxy. Some even considered surrendering. But no one knew how. Earth wasn't talking. Earth was hunting. Echoes. Message on Varnath to Varnath 2's leaders had once said human doctors are soft, cut their hands, and they can't heal. Echo visited them. No one saw her arrive, but by morning, their hands were gone. Just their hands, no bodies, but just hands nailed to the front of the city gates. Underneath, one word, now who's soft? Alia Chen's final statement before disappearing back on Earth. Ambassador Chen stood in front of the United Human Assembly. She had finished her job, told the galaxy what was coming. Now, she was done talking. Her last words were simple. Peace. It was possible, but you burned it. Now we burn back. This is not war. This is memory. You touched the people who only wanted to save lives. You thought Earth was kind. Now you'll meet the rest of us. She stepped away and was never seen again. Human citizens, cold and quiet, no. Parades, no cheers, just silence. People wore black doctors, carried medkits with rifles. Children were taught not only math and science, but how to stay hidden if war ever came home again. The world had changed, and Earth would never forget. Outer Rim planet, Telvax Prime was once known for music, floating cities, shining towers, songs that echoed through the air for miles. It was a planet of art, beauty, and life, until one morning, everything stopped. No signals. Number, calls. No lights, just silence. A patrol ship passed by and saw it first. They sent a drone down. What it showed chilled the galaxy. The cities still stood. No signs of war, no fire, no destruction, but no one moved. No one breathed. Millions of people. Frozen eyes open, mouths locked mid-scream, as if they saw something too big, too terrible, and then stopped living. Hook first 5 to 7 minutes. The message on the moon, the patrol ship turned its cameras to the nearby moon. There was something carved into it, massive, glowing in red heat. A human symbol. A red cross. Next to it, burned into the rock, were words in every known language. This is mercy. Next time we won't be gentle. That message echoed across the galaxy. This was Earth's new way. No explosions, no battle, just silence. Final, cold, and unforgettable. Galactic Panicon Council worlds. People rioted. They demanded answers. They begged their leaders to apologize too. Earth. But it was too late. The council had already broken. Half the members vanished. Others locked themselves in bunkers. Some tried to leave the galaxy entirely, because now everyone understood something terrible. Earth doesn't need to fight. It just needs to decide. Back on Mars, Vault Command Commander Rourke watched the reports with no emotion. Repernine stood beside him. They didn't even touch a weapon, Rourke said. Not a single shot fired. His eyes glowed brighter. Ready for the next one? Rourke asked. Reaper nodded once. Hollow's visit to planet Cern Kasirinka was a fortress world. Mountains of steel, moons full of cannons. Ships circling like bees. They laughed at the stories of the monsters. They said Hollow was a myth. They even joked. If he comes, we'll cage him like a beast. That night, their core reactor shut down. Every sensor went black, and from inside the control tower, a single message was sent. He is not a beast. He is the reason we built cages in the first place. No further messages came. By sunrise, the planet was gone from maps, erased alien testimony, a survivor's talon, a broken freighter far away. A small alien woman was found drifting, barely, alive, frozen, starving. When rescued, she said only this: I saw them once, just once. They didn't shoot, they didn't speak. They just looked at us, and suddenly, none of us wanted to breathe again. She died 3 hours later, but her words spread. Even seeing the monsters was enough to break. You human citizens, the shift begins back on Earth. Children no longer studied war history. They studied warning signs. What betrayal looked like. What silence from allies meant. Doctors were given bodyguards. Nurses learned to fight. Healers became sacred. Every child now knew one law. If you hurt a medic, you won't see the stars again. Echo's signal on planet Borthanine. Borthanine was loud, crowded, a trading world. Its leaders once joked Earth would forgive and forget like always. Then Echo arrived. She didn't land. She didn't speak. She just hijacked every screen and whispered one word. The lights dimmed. The air turned still. And then people began confessing. In public. Shouting. Crimes. Screaming secrets. Breaking under pressure that didn't come from bullets or torture by the end of the day. 2,000 government workers turned themselves in for crimes Earth had never even discovered. Some begged for punishment, others just jumped. No human touched them. Just Echo's word did the work. Galactic Council officially dissolved. What was once the strongest political alliance in the galaxy collapsed. The building was empty. Files deleted, flags torn down. No one wanted to lead anymore, because leadership now meant one thing: it's being on Earth's list. And no one survived the list. Final report: the number in just 19 days. 41 planets silenced, 312. Ships gone, 17 enemy leaders. Eliminated 0 human deaths, 0 Earth military deployed, only 3 Vault operatives used. Damned, the galaxy finally asked. How many more monsters does Earth have? But no one dared find out. The ambassador who switched sides, his name was Vactalquer. He once sat on the Galactic Council. He once voted to ban Earth's medical teams from entering war zones. He once laughed when the field hospital was bombed. Now, he was crying on live broadcast. In front of billions, he begged Earth for forgiveness. I was wrong, he said, his voice shaking. I saw your monsters. I saw them walk through walls of fire like gods. I saw them stop a planet's heart. And now, I say this not as a councilman, but as a coward who wants to live. He tore off his golden robe. Beneath it, he wore a human-made shirt, simple, gray, no symbols, just words. One of us. The broadcast that changed everything. Vec's message wasn't blocked. Earth allowed it. In fact, Earth boosted it. The video was sent to every screen. On the bottom of the screen, 2 words blinked slowly. First one. That scared everyone more than anything. Because if he was the first, who would be next? Planet Relian, the first volunteer colonialian, was not a strong world. No army, no weapons. But their leaders saw the signs. They chose survival. They burned their old flags. They renamed their capital Sanctuary. They broadcast one sentence to Earth: we will protect your medics. Always. They placed a red cross on their moon. They rewrote their laws to punish anyone who harmed healers and Earth. Ignored them. No threats. No messages. No silence. Just peace. That silence from Earth was the only reward they wanted. Commander Rourke watches the change on Mars. Inside the Vault command room, Commander Rourke stood watching the galaxy map. More and more worlds began sending peaceful transmissions. Some burned their old history books. Some made human doctors saints in their religions. Some built statues of Earth's medics and placed them in their capital cities. Rourke said quietly, they finally understand. But Repernine shook his head. No, he said. They're afraid. That's not understanding. Rourke looked at him and said nothing. Hollow's mission, the one who refused, not everyone surrendered. A military leader named Cavor Rex, known for torturing captured medics, spoke publicly. Let Earth come. Let their monsters try. I'll wear their skulls as medals. That was his last message. Hollow didn't use weapons. He just entered Cavor's stronghold. Minutes later, Cavor was found alive, but he couldn't speak. He couldn't scream. His eyes were wide, frozen on the wall behind him, burned into stone. You should have worn a heart instead of a skull. Echo visits a school planet called Tesserae, trained future leaders. They once taught that humans were weak for protecting the wounded. That kindness was a flaw. When Echo arrived, she didn't bring pain, she brought mirrors, thousands of them. Placed across the school, they showed scenes from the field. Hospital massacre and repeat. Every time students looked, they saw medics dying. After a day, the students began to scream. By the second day, they refused to eat. By the third, it begged their teachers to stop the lessons. The teachers resigned, the school closed, and above the ruined campus, a drone floated. It played one sentence: do you teach lies or lessons? A new fear grows in the galaxy. This was not war anymore. It was memory. Earth had made the galaxy remember pain, but they had also planted something. Worse: guilt. Species who had laughed at the bombings now cried in private worlds that cheered when medics died, now burned their own news archives. Nobody wanted to admit it, but more and more said, quietly, maybe Earth was right. A young alien writes a letter to Earth. She was only 12. Her name was Karina, from a peaceful farming planet. She wrote, "Dear Earth, I'm sorry they hurt your healers. My mom says you are angry now, but I hope one day we can be friends. I want to be a medic too. Please don't destroy us. Love, Karina." She sent the letter to nowhere, just into the stars. 2 weeks later, a human drone arrived at her farm. It dropped a small box. Inside was a tiny Red Cross badge and a note. "When you wear this, you will never be alone. Keep learning. Earth is watching." Final scene: Echo stares at the sky. Ko stood alone on a small asteroid. She looked up at the stars. The monsters were still waiting, but now the galaxy was shifting, surrendering, yes, but also remembering, and that was more dangerous, because remembering pain could lead to peace, but forgetting pain, that's how the galaxy got here in the first place, and Earth would never forget again. Echo whispered into the void, "One day, we won't need monsters anymore, but not today." The flame that wouldn't die there was one last medic station still standing, one torch still burning. It floated alone in space on a forgotten outpost near the Black Nebula. Small, damaged, unarmed. Inside were 6 medics, all volunteers, all human. They had refused to leave even after the massacre. They said, "We stay until every wound in this sector is healed." For a while, the station helped both sides of the war. Humans, aliens, even criminals. They treated anyone who walked through the doors then. One day, no one came. No ships. No signals. Only silence. The medics thought peace had come, but it was something else. Something worse. Silence full of teeth. A trap set for the last medics, a pirate group. One of the last who still hated humans sent a fake distress call. They begged for help, said a disease was spreading, said children were dying. The 6 medics responded without question. They opened their doors. They prepared medicine. They sent landing coordinates. And then the pirates attacked. They didn't come to steal. They came to erase, to finish what others had started. The station. It goes dark for 9 hours. Earth heard nothing. The last torch had gone out, and the galaxy held its breath. Then something changed. From deep inside the Black Nebula, a signal returned. Not from Earth, not from the medics, but from someone else. It was simple, cold, robotic. Torch attacked. Medics harmed. Code Black confirmed. Bloodstar. Bloodstar. Vault Command. Reacts. Commander Rourke stood in the Vault War Room. The lights dimmed. The room turned red. A siren whispered one word: Bloodstar. Repernine's hands clenched. Echo lowered her eyes. Even Hollow stopped moving, because they all knew what Bloodstar meant. It wasn't just punishment. It was cleansing. A message sent to the galaxy. Earth didn't hide what was coming. They sent a warning to everyone, every species, every moon, every outpost. The last medics were harmed. There are no more warnings. Stand clear, or be judged with them. It wasn't a threat, it was a countdown. The arrival of the forgotten monster, Sableno. One remembered Sable. He had been locked away longer than the others. He didn't burn cities, he didn't break minds, he didn't speak, he consumed matter, memory, light, sound. He erased what made you real. Sable arrived at the Black Nebula. He entered the pirate sector. He left nothing behind. Not bones, not ships, not names, just nothing. As if those pirates had never existed. The signal from the Flame 1 hour after Sable's purge. The original torch station flickered back online. Inside, one camera turned on. A young human nurse stared into it. She was bleeding. Barely alive, but still standing. She whispered, "We are medics. We treat pain, even when we're the ones feeling it. If you harmed us, we forgive you. But Earth won't. Earth can't." She collapsed and the camera went black again. A new rule appears on every screen. Earth updated its ancient war code. A single line was added across all human data systems. Medics are the last torch. If you kill the light, you will never see dawn again. Some alien leaders cried when they read it, because it was no longer about revenge. It was a belief now. A religion. Something Earth would never break. Galactic map. More planets surrender after. The Blood Star event. 74 more planets erased medical laws that once blocked humans. 31 species built statues honoring human nurses. 5 entire governments resigned in shame. One enemy race dissolved itself. The galaxy was changing fast, not because of politics, but because of fear and maybe guilt vault commanders. Decision Commander Rourke turned to his team. "Call them back," he said. "Which ones?" asked a vault operator. Rourke's voice was calm. "All of them. Hollow, Reaper, Echo, even Sable. You're calling off the monsters?" The operator whispered. "No," Rourke said, reminding the galaxy that monsters only walk. "When medics fall, if they want peace, then guard the torch. Watch the fire spread. A boy lights a new torch in a faraway moon. A small alien boy, just 8 years old, dug a hole near his village. Inside, he placed a tiny red crystal with a cross symbol as his parents watched. "What is that?" they asked. He smiled. "It's a light. For the humans, so they know we're safe." He didn't know Earth saw him. He didn't know a drone hovered high above, recording every second. But someone did see. Someone in the vault whispered, "Maybe there's hope left." A whisper before death. The priest stood before the crowd, chained and broken. His robe was torn, his eyes swollen shut. Blood dripped from his lip. He had been a hero once on his world. A voice for the holy fire of Valter. A preacher who called humans fake gods with bleeding hands. He had blessed the bombing of the human field, Hospital. He had thanked his gods for every human medic who died screaming. But now, his voice was weak, small, barely a whisper, and what he said shook the entire system. "Forgive me, Earth. I was blind. I see now. I betrayed your healers, betrayed life itself." Raised his head and cried out in front of his people. "I do not beg for my life. I beg that your monsters come for me, not them. Let the fire stop with me. Let me be the last to burn." And then he set himself on fire, a monster, Seiko. Watch the video in silence. She stood on a scorched moon where her last mission ended, one where no survivors remained. A vault drone floated beside her, waiting for a command. But Echo didn't move. She replayed the video over and over. The priest's words echoed louder than screams ever had. She whispered, "A traitor who tells the truth. That's the rarest kind." For the first time in years, Echo hesitated. Back on Earth, vault records, something strange inside the vault command center. An alert blinked. Not a threat, not an attack, just a word: surrender. It came from the Valter Empire. The same empire that praised the hospital massacre. The same one that called Earth disease. But now, their message was different. It wasn't begging, it was offering. They broadcast across all systems. "We have sinned We betrayed life. Let us show change. We offer every priest, every general, every hand that touched the blood for judgment. The message ended with one sentence. Let your monsters choose who deserves mercy. The trial without walls, Earth, sent no fleet, no monster, only one human lawyer. She was old, gentle, quiet. Her name was Mara Jin. She walked alone into the Vaulter Grand Temple, carrying nothing but a single white book. The Vaulter leaders expected judgment, execution, but instead, Mara opened the book and said, "Tell me who gave the order to bomb the medics. Tell me who smiled when healers screamed. Tell me who said silence was justice. Name them. Name every single one." And Earth might look away. The night of names it lasted 12 hours. The walls of the Vaulter Temple echoed with names. Long names, short. Names. Family names. They gave up everyone. Fathers, mothers, soldiers, scholars even. Children who cheered the fire. All written in the white book. Mara Jin didn't blink. She simply nodded at the end. She closed the book and said, "This book will be placed in the vault. If any of these names act again, the monsters will remember, and Earth will not come to talk." Hollow's new mission back in the stars. Hollow received new orders. No longer destroy. Now, watch. He moved through shadows, entered rooms where secret plans were made. He didn't speak, didn't kill. He just stared, and those who saw him felt cold inside. They stopped their plans, burned their blueprints, and said nothing. The silence became safety. Because if Hollow watched you, it meant you were on the list. A traitor changes the galaxy, though. A priest who burned himself had started a wave. More traitors rose. Not traitors to their species, but traitors to hatred, to lies. Some destroyed their war medals. Some wrote public apologies. Some even became medics themselves. The galaxy didn't trust them all. But Earth. Earth simply watched. Didn't forgive, didn't punish, just watched. And that was worse than fire, Commander. Rourke speaks to Earth in a rare moment. Vault Commander Rourke addressed the people of Earth. A short message. Just 10 words. They finally pray. But we remember. Never again. Watch them. Billions watched the video. No one cheered. No one smiled. Just silence. An understanding. A monster sleeps in a dark moon. Repanine walked into a sealed chamber for the first time in decades. He laid down his weapons. He spoke just once to the vault. "AI, if they ever touch another medic, wake me." The door closed behind him, and Repanine slept. But Earth did not. The trader's daughter, and a small farm in the outer colonies. A girl read her father's last words, the priest's message to Earth. She held the paper close. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "You're right, Father. The monsters weren't Earth's curse, we were. They saved us from ourselves." She placed a red candle on her porch, lit it, and waited. Not in fear, but in hope. The echo that Cridico never cried. She was made for silence, shadows, and killing. The vault had taken her name, her past, her face. They gave her one mission: protect medics, punish those who hurt them, and she did without mercy. But today, she sat alone in the dark inside an abandoned hospital, the same hospital where she had once died. Before they rebuilt her, she found a child's drawing on the wall. Crayon, simple, a medic, holding hands with a smiling alien child. Above it, one word: "Thank you." Code dropped to her knees. Her hands shook, and for the first time in 48 years, a single tear rolled down her cheek. The monster wept, and the vault recorded it. Vault room. "The monsters are changing." Commander Rourke stared at the footage. He said nothing. Behind him, AI lights blinked gently. Whispering data. Vault report. Emotional response detected in unit echo. Trace compassion suggests healing. Hollow stood behind Rourke. Even he was quiet. "Should we reset her?" asked a technician. "No," Rourke said softly. She's Not breaking, she's remembering. Then he turned toward the others and said, "Tell the monsters, we don't need vengeance today. We need memory." Across the stars, the galaxy begins to heal planets once afraid of Earth. Began building healing stations. Not because they were forced, but because they wanted to. Statues of human medics appeared in alien cities, and this time, they weren't. Covered in fear, they were covered in flowers. One world declared a new holiday. Day of the Healers, not a day of war. A day of peace. One that began with silence and ended with stories. Stories of the medics who stayed. Even when fire fell from the sky, Sable walks among the living. Sable had never stayed after a purge, but now he did. He walked through a refugee camp once burned by his own flames, but instead of hiding, children ran to him. They didn't see a monster. They saw the one who stopped their abusers. One small alien. Girl gave him a flower. It burst into ashes the moment he touched it. Sable stepped back. Afraid, the girl laughed and held out another one. This time, he didn't touch it. He just looked and said nothing, but his eyes glowed softer, like a sun remembering. How to rise, a forgotten voice speaks again, in deep space, an old meta-captain. Alina Kerr was found alive. She had survived the first hospital massacre, escaped in silence, hiding, healing, waiting now. She stood before the Galactic Council, her voice clear and calm. We came to heal, not to rule. We were burned for helping, but we still help. We always will. If you truly want peace, then guard your own medics like we did ours. Some leaders cried, others stood, all listened. A message to Earth from an old enemy, the Kryn. One of Earth's oldest enemies sent a message. We will protect our medics now. We will bury our old war songs. Earth showed us pain, but also showed us truth. Let us walk the light, for your monsters walk again. Vault responds with something new. The Vault sent no threats this time, just a small transmission. A picture. It showed a human medic smiling beside an alien doctor. Both had blood on their hands. But none of it was war. It was the blood of saving. Not killing. At the bottom of the picture, keep this alive, or we send the ones who do not smile. Back at the vault, the monsters rest. Teko returned to her chamber. She placed the child's drawing from the hospital in a glass frame beside her bed. Repernin sharpened his blades, but didn't lift them. Hollow stood in a quiet hallway, watching the stars. Sable sat by a fire, though he hated fire, just to feel warm again. None of them had names anymore. But now, they had memories, and something almost like peace. A new medic lights a torch in a mining colony near the galaxy's edge. Human boy picked up a white box. He was only 14. Inside was a medic kit, old, rusty, ancient tech. He looked at the box, at the stars, and said, "If they come back, I'll be ready, not to fight, to heal, just like they did." He smiled and lit a small torch outside the colony gates. The collar of chains. They found the creature in a prison on Xerxes-5. It was chained, muzzled, starving. The locals called it the Medic Eater, a monster they had tortured for years because it tried to help a wounded human child during the war. No. One had listened to its screams back then. They called kindness a traitor's virus now. The war was over, and humans were coming. The creature looked up, but it heard the Earth ship land. It expected death. But instead, a medic stepped into the cell. She wore no armor, no guns, just a calm smile. She sat beside the creature and said gently, "You tried to help one of ours. That makes you family." Then she took off her own jacket, wrapped it around the monster, and whispered, "You're safe now. No more chains. You're not alone anymore." Mercy begins to spread. News of the rescued creature spread fast. It had no name, no people, no records, but Earth gave it a place. Not as a soldier, not as a prisoner, but as a medic trainee. The same creature once tortured for mercy is now trained to protect others. Alien children from across the stars sent gifts and drawings. Some called it the first forgiven. And Earth smiled. Rourke's message to the Galaxy Vault Commander Rourke sent one final speech across every open channel. We punish because we were forced. We built monsters because you hunted our healers. But mercy is stronger than vengeance. If you chain the kind again, if you punish mercy again, we will not send words. We will send silence. And you already know what silence means. As the chain grows, inspired by Earth, other planets began a quiet mission. They called it the Chain of Mercy. Each world pledged to protect one medic, no matter the species. No borders. No flags, no politics. Just one rule. A medic may never bleed alone. The chain began with 5 planets, then 10, then hundreds, and within one Earth year. The galaxy changed. Hollow's last warning a secret. Lab was discovered on the edge of the forgotten Epsilon Rim. Inside, documents on a weapon meant to erase human. DNA DeVault said nothing, but Hollow arrived. He stood outside the lab doors, staring, watching. He never entered. He didn't have to. Within 3 hours, the scientists inside burned every page and sent out a single broadcast. Project erased. We remember the monsters. The chain will not break. The monsters stepped back. Reaper 9 blocked away his blades. Sable turned off his flamethrower. Echo returned to Earth. None of them smiled, but none of them killed. Again, not because they couldn't, but because they didn't need to. The galaxy was now protecting what Earth once stood alone for, and monsters could finally rest. Alien leaders signed the Medic Accord Day Massive. Agreement was signed in the ruins of the first bombed human hospital. Every major species, every government. The rules were simple. Medics are untouchable. Hospitals are sacred ground. Mercy is not weakness. If these rules break, the vault wakes. The treaty had no name, but people called it the Blood Promise. Not because of war, but because of what was lost before peace began. A child's oath. A young alien boy, born on a world that once bombed human aid ships, stood in front of his school. He held a small, silver chain in his hands. He looked up and said, "I will not hurt those who heal. I will protect the kind, even if I stand alone. This is my chain, and I will never let it break." The room clapped, and outside, hidden in the shadows, Echo watched. She said nothing, but she closed her eyes and whispered, "Maybe monsters aren't needed anymore." The Wall of the Fallen. There was a place now, just outside Earth's orbit, a massive white ring station floating in silence. No weapons, no engines, it's only names. Millions of them etched into shining metal. The Wall of the Fallen. Each name belonged to a medic, human, alien, friend, even former enemy. Those who died helping others each week. Soft bell rang, and each week more names were added. But today, something strange happened. For the first time in 30 years, no new names were added. The bell rang once, then silence. Commander Rourke stood on the edge of the observation deck and whispered, "Let the dead rest. We finally did our job." The vault closes its doors in the cold, dark mountains of Earth. The vault doors closed, not from defeat, but because their purpose was finished. Inside, Hollow stood in the empty halls. He looked at the cages, at the weapons, at the files. Then he walked to a small room. No one ever entered. He placed a single photo on the wall. It showed a smiling human woman, a medic. She had once tried to save him. Before he became Hollow, he stared at her for a long time, then said softly, "We remember you now. The monsters are done." He turned off the lights and left. Echo plants a garden in a distant moon once scarred by war. Echo walked into an empty field. She removed her armor, piece by piece. She dug into the dirt with her bare hands and began planting seeds. Not weapons, not mines, just flowers. Each one marked for a medic she had failed to protect. Behind her, a group of alien children gathered. They watched, then slowly they began planting with her. A quiet garden bloomed. No screams, no blood, only soft wind and color. Repernine. Disperse Repernine was last seen walking into a jungle on a planet that had once betrayed Earth's medics. He carried nothing, no armor, No knives, no orders, just silence. Many say he died there, but some swear they saw him years later. Living in a small village, helping farmers fix broken machines, he never spoke, but when a child got hurt, he was always the first to help. Even monsters, it seems, can learn to heal. The new medics rise, the Earth's medic fleet grew again, but now it was filled with more than just humans. Aliens joined two species that once feared Earth's monsters, now stood beside their doctors. Ships flew to war zones, not to fight, but to rescue, and the chain of mercy held strong. On one mission, a medic was shot on a hostile world before Earth could respond. 5 alien fleets arrived first. They surrounded the planet, not to destroy it, but to demand, return the medic, or face what Earth faced, and build what Earth built. The planet surrendered, and the medic lived. A new vault, different kind of vault, was built. Not underground, but in space. Its walls were made of glass. It's not steel. Inside were stories, photos, footage, drawings from children. It was not a place of weapons, but a museum of memory. It told the truth of the first medics, of the betrayal, of the monsters, and of the galaxy's second chance. No one left the place without tears in their eyes, not because of horror, but because of hope. Rourke's final message before his death. Commander Rourke sent out a final transmission. It was short. His face was older, eyes tired, but his voice was strong. The monsters were not our curse. They were our answer. But answers must end when the test is over. If you protect the kind, you won't need the cruel. Let the dead rest. Let the living rise. Then he smiled, and the screen went dark. Final scene, a child in a chain in a quiet world. Under 2 suns, a little girl picked up an old chain from the sand. She showed it to her mother. "What is this?" The mother smiled. "That's a promise. A promise that no one will hurt those who heal." The girl nodded. She placed the chain around her neck and walked toward the town, where a small clinic stood. Inside, a new medic had just arrived. A young alien, trained on Earth. The girl stepped in and said, "I want to help."